Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight! Oh!
We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated to our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits! Everybody loves Hypnotoad! Scary Dog! Dancing at Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Hello and welcome to TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show, maybe not all of our favorite shows, maybe just a few of us, is Jessica Jones, Season 3, brought to you by the good people at Marvel and the good people at Netflix and ABC Television, though not for much longer. Joining me tonight, as he's contractually obligated to, and this is his last contractual obligation to this particular grouping of TV parties, ladies and gentlemen, the man that doesn't hate nearly everything as Pat Mullen does, but he gets pretty far in that vein. Robert Winfree, how do you do, sir?
I will miss Daredevil now that it's gone. I will miss the Punisher. I'm kind of ambivalent about Luke Cage. The way Season 2 ended, I thought was a largely acceptable, sort of conclusion to that character and the way they had written him. I am actually going to miss a little bit of Iron Fist just because of where they ended it, more so than because it's a great show.
Yeah, it was just getting good.
I'm not going to miss anything about this.
No, look, spoiler alert. I didn't hate it. Rob didn't love it. We'll talk about what we think was good, what we think was bad in just a moment. But I do think that of all the shows that kind of ran out of story, and I think some of the reviewers talked about this. This kind of ends on a note. Was Jessica Jones?
What the? I mean, they knew this was ending. Like they renewed. This is kind of what kills me. Jessica Jones got renewed for a third season a little bit before the big wave of cancellations came in.
Right.
And then it was immediately it was made very, very clear, okay, you're not getting a season 4. So whatever you want to do, let's do it. And
they were like, well...
And they decided that, how we're going to end? We're going to end with her almost leaving, do an about face at the very end, and a tease for David Tennant's Purple Man. Like, what the... That just makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, you had an appearance by Luke Cage, but if you're thinking like this is it, this is the last of the Defender shows, maybe have a final appearance by the Defenders. I think and not even as like necessarily a superhero fighting team, but let's get Daredevil in there. Let's get Matt in the courtroom. We had an appearance by Luke Cage, and that was fine. But I think like appearances by some of these other characters would have been a lot of fun, and they just kind of let's give a definitive end to this arc. And I agree with you. I would have much more appreciated her just saying, "The hell with it! I'm going to Mexico. I'm leaving New York," and saying, "Okay, that kind of closes the book on this." They could have listen for 13 episodes, 3 of which it went 3 episodes too long. Really could have been dealt, like they could have ended the Salinger storyline and done the last 3 episodes as one giant tie-up to Punisher, Daredevil, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage. Just kind of her interacting with these characters and kind of showing somewhat of a finality to all of them so that everything gets tied up neatly. And then if Marvel wants to reboot these, they at least have a place to start from that makes some degree of sense. The other way they could have done this was they all got snapped away.
That would have been so... Well, no, because then they would have had to come back, because everyone who got snapped returned.
Right, but they don't have to return until it's 2 years before any one of their series can go into production, which means it's probably about 3 years away from seeing any one of these in anything.
if they all get back together like in that Chinese restaurant and just like as kind of a final like, okay, nice to see everybody again, and then they all just look down and start fading away. That would have been it. It would have been interesting if nothing else.
Yeah, I would have. I kind of would have enjoyed that. I think it would have been kind of a meta moment, considering that the reason why they got canceled was Disney Plus. So, and we're not going to have these characters for a while. I mean, some of the characters that were introduced in other shows in other areas, Marvel can use. Ghost Rider's getting his own series, and it's the Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for example. I think they're bringing back Blade in some form or fashion.
I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of Robbie Reyes as.
Well, you're saying that like what I'm saying isn't true. What I'm saying is true. Whether or not you like it isn't really relevant right this second.
So yeah, we'll get more of. I agree with you. They're going to do something with that. I think they've announced Damian Hellstrom that they're going to try and do something with.
Well, I don't know if they've introduced him anywhere.
No, because they don't have the balls to actually do the Prince of Hell properly.
So, the point being that while some of the characters that have got, I don't know if Cloak and Dagger got renewed for a third season yet. I know the Runaways has, but this core group of Defender characters, 5 if you count the Punisher, are gone for at least 2 to 3 years now, and I think snapping them away would have been a better finale than what we got with Jessica Jones.
You know what? It would have been if you snap them away and then literally wait 5 years.
That would be interesting. All right, let's talk about it. Jessica Jones. I'm not gonna, if you listen to TV Party, we don't do an episode by episode breakdown. We kind of talk about the themes and scenes and performances and whatnot. But just to set the stage here, this is the fallout from season 2 where Trish, aka Hellcat, get it, aka. Shoots Jessica Jones.
Yeah, because that joke does not get old at all.
Has shot Jessica Jones's mother and killed her. They largely resolved the mystery of how Jessica got her powers and what happened to her parents. And this series sort of operate and with only the Trish getting superpowers and the relationship between Trish and Jessica Jones being strained due to one murdering the other's mother. This one largely acts independent of the previous 2 seasons. Jessica Jones is a known entity. She's still known for having killed the Purple Man. But overall, it's kind of like a quasi soft reboot of the series in the sense that they're telling largely a new story with some elements left over from the previous 2 seasons. But this is, but if you hadn't seen them, and you can pick up easily that these 2 people, and they say it enough times, so it's not like you have to infer a lot. They're mad at each other because of Jessica Jones's mother. Move on. This is largely an independent story. It has some new characters. The character of let's see if we can find this character list here. Eric something or other. Eric Gelden, played by Benjamin Walker. In the comics, he is known as Mindwave. The villain in the series, Gregory Salinger, played by Jeremy Bobb, is the Fool Killer. And I want to say that those are the only major appearances by established or quasi-established Marvel comic book characters. And this is a story of how a non-powered person reconciles a world of powered people and his feeling powerless in that world. And him needing to sort of assert himself. You want to add anything to that? What do you think of that sort of overall description of the narrative arc of this series, this season?
I mean, you missed what becomes the most ham-fisted discussion of the age-old morality question around, well, should we kill bad guys or not? Which is just, oh, God, I am so sick of.
Well, that's the inner conflict. That's the conflict between Trish and Jessica. And to a degree, I think, yeah, you're not wrong. It does drive the central plot. Because here you have this person who's incredibly destructive, and then two opposing theories on how to deal with him. And I do want to talk. I think you and I need to have a discussion about Jessica and Trish, but I kind of wanted to get established.
I'd really rather not.
What the season was about. So, anything else? Just real quick on, in sort of one headline, what the season was about.
No, I think that's largely it. I mean, again, if you want to talk about personal kind of growths and narratives, a lot of it does deal with, or is meant to deal with, rather, Jessica finally, quote unquote, becoming a hero. And, which is another just... I saw this crap for 2 previous seasons. Like, what are we doing here? Kind of thing. But
you and I talked about this before we went live. Kind of had a pre-show, just sharing of ideas, and we said, the strength of season 1 of Jessica Jones was dealing with her psychological issues.
Well, hang on. In further fairness to season 1, the other major strength that it had going for it was David Tennant.
Okay, as part of the performance element, sure. But an exploration of PTSD and women's issues, and the whole idea of power, perceived powerlessness of women, in abusive relationships and all of that, I thought was interesting grist for the mill in season 1, and it's something you and I kicked around a lot. And like season 2 largely abandons that.
Season 2 abandons everything, up to and including basic narrative logic.
Yeah. This season, they really don't go back to it at all. It's more of an exploration of, what defines a hero. And
well, they touch on it a little bit, and sadly, it gets very briefly touched on over the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then just roundly ignored for the rest of it.
Yeah, they dip their toe in. That's about it.
I will not be a victim, therefore I tear off my medical bracelet, informing emergency responders that I have no spleen. One of the single dumbest character. I'm sorry, and I get the big symbolism they're going for. That is so profoundly stupid. You don't deserve to live.
Let's save the main event here. The relationship between Trish and Jessica for a little bit later. Let's just talk about the main narrative piece, which is that Fool Killer Salinger is this genius, unpowered person, and he. This is what was the other character that did it was a very similar thing. This is the Lex Luthor bit from the Snyderverse DC films. I feel powerless in a world of powered people, and so I must assert my genius. I must peel back the veneer of these superheroes to show that they are not gods, they are fallible, and and they must be brought low for the betterment of humanity.
Well, at a minimum, this is slightly better than the performance given here is slightly better than Eisen Luthor is.
Yeah, I wasn't even comparing. I was saying that they both thematically were going about coming from the same place.
By and large, yeah, and. I like Jessica Jones Season 3 a lot better when it was like Dexter Season 2.
Okay.
Sorry, bad joke. I mean, in all seriousness, I was about to open this show with a bit about, we're going to discuss Dexter Season 9, wherein he encounters superheroes after having moved to New York.
You're not wrong. And I haven't even seen Dexter, but that's basically it. A genius serial killer fucking with a superhero because he can. This whole thing opens with her being stabbed, and then for the first couple of episodes, it's a whodunit. Then then way too early on, you find out who done it, and then it's just a matter of, it's a matter of the sociopath tricking Jessica Jones at every turn. And when is Jessica Jones going to smarten up and outsmart him?
Yeah, there's a few things going on here that really hamper their ability to execute that narrative. One, the writers for this are not good enough to really write a compelling mystery. I mean, which is sad because it's pretty clear that they like elements of how film noir or hard-boiled detective stories are done, and those two are not the same thing. There's a fundamental difference in perspective that takes place between the two of them. And I think Jessica Jones falls more into hard-boiled than film noir, because film noir is largely a character dealing with things out of their being. There's a fish out of water component thematically to film noir, whereas hard-boiled is a character that knows the game, knows the players, and is just trying to figure out, again, kind of a mystery.
Right.
Either that or I've got them reversed, and I can't remember which is which, but that's the primary distinction between the two. And again, the showrunners here have things about those genres that they very clearly like. They like elements of the music, they like the monologue, narration. They like the idea of unraveling a mystery, but they just suck at writing mysteries.
Yeah, this was a lot of sizzle and not a lot of steak in the detective noir. Because on the one hand, you have Christian Ritter doing these dialogue monologues, narration monologues, and it's a lot of life. Life is a bleak tunnel of darkness. All right.
Yeah, I mean, the crappy, not crappy, but look, those kind of monologues, I think will never really exceed what we got out of like True Detective first season.
Yeah, I actually never saw the first season of True Detective.
Oh my god!
I saw the second season.
No. Screw the second season.
Yeah.
Watch the first season.
I watched that second season, and I was like, well, I don't know what people saw in the first season, but if it was anything like this, I don't know how it lasted 2 seasons.
Completely different.
Yeah, okay.
Story, completely different characters, completely different story. Those two stories are not connected at all, other than by the name.
Yeah.
It's almost an anthology where each season is a self-contained story.
Yeah, I have a lot of time on my hands, so True Detective Season 1's on the list.
Yes. Again, if for no other reason than Matthew McConaughey's performance.
But this season, the writing of it comes across like a group of people sitting in a writer's room who very much are in love with the style and the themes of detective noir, but don't particularly know how to write it, and gave it their best shot. And someone then also kept reminding them that this is 2019 and they're writing a superhero show.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a fair bit of... Well, and again, so they're not good enough to really stretch out the whodunit and make it interesting.
Right.
Then they also don't really have a continued compelling presence for Salinger. When he initially shows up, and we start to get a feel for this guy, yeah, I'm kind of there. Like, okay, well, he shows up, and suddenly elements of the show make sense, and I'm willing to see where things go.
Well, even
then,
when
it just drags.
Well, even when you don't know it's him, but he first appears, and Jessica Jones opens the door and he stabs her, and then it's like he just sort of runs away in fear. But then you're given the impression later on that, and this is where I got a little confused, because on the one hand, I was given two distinct impressions, and it couldn't have been both, that he went there for Jessica to make a point. And and he wanted to stab her and say, "See, you're not super, you're not bulletproof, you're just a girl." But he also was being blackmailed by Mindwave, Eric Gelden, and so that's where, and that's how she gets hip to him, because she figures that the guy came there for Eric, not her. And I'm like, wait, you've now confused that entire scene for me. Not to mention the fact that if this was about him versus Jessica, that scene really should have ended with him having stabbed her and then just looking at her and then cut to black. Not him running in fear like he hit the wrong person.
Or stabbing. Yeah, I think there was a lot of confusion there, and the only way I can kind of justify it to you within the context of the story, he went there for Eric, but he had his eye on Jessica for a while and just expected it to be Eric that he stabbed there, but was going to get to her eventually anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, is kind of weak, but...
I think Kristen Ritter might have directed that, and I think this is why we shouldn't let Kristen Ritter direct more things. Let me double check that.
I can't remember which... She directed, one episode, and I can't remember.
She directs the
next
one.
So she does the one, where she discovers she's without a spleen.
No, this is the one where you have
Patsy's
this is the same episode, but from Patsy's perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was all right. I mean, from a directorial standpoint, that was fine.
Michael Lehman directed the first episode.
Yeah. No more jobs for you, sir.
Yeah.
Either that, or just like the showrunner should just never really work again.
I mean, there's some of it that's fine. I mean, there's stuff where she's in the bar with Eric, and he kind of moves in on her and just immediately starts describing the burger. I enjoyed that interplay. I enjoyed the sort of, flirting in an angrily, nasty, jerky way between the two of them. I was like, oh, I'm intrigued by this. I want to see where this goes. And this is before I knew he was anybody. Before I knew he was part of the main cast, because I didn't read up about this. I kind of went into this one cold. And I certainly didn't know that he was going to turn out to have superpowers. So I'm thinking he's just a guy in the bar. And then, when he moves in closer to her, and he just immediately goes into, picture it, toasted brioche bun. And I'm like, here we go. I like that. I thought that was good. But the hallway scene where where Salinger stabs her, I don't know. I don't think that was handled right. I think that's kind of one of those where, we want that to look like he got the wrong person and then ran scared, except that none of his character shows him running scared from anything. He's too much of a sociopath.
Well, and he's also entirely too meticulous about those things. Like, he should have stabbed her again, and then when he saw there were too many people, then run off, if that's the angle you want to play.
Or have Eric had tried to hit him with a bat or something, and that's why he ran. Or
he squares up to fight Eric, and then Malcolm comes out, and he just the calculus no longer makes sense for a continued confrontation.
Okay, I think I missed that detail then.
No. That's how I would have done it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, I don't remember Malcolm in that scene.
He's the one who shows up as she is on the floor bleeding.
Yeah, he's
out.
gone by that point.
But Salinger's gone by that point.
But you're right. It had the door started flying open, and as he's just sitting there looking at his work, and then he's like, oh shit, I've been caught with my hand in the cookie jar, and then made a run for it. The scene would have been better. In any case, I want to talk a little bit about. Let me ask you: is there anything else about the Salinger, just the specific Salinger storyline that's worth bringing up? Because I largely agree with your point about this was not a great mystery. This had potential to be a great mystery, but it's not a great mystery because, in 2 episodes, you find out who done it, and then it's the shift isn't the who done it anymore, which is the most interesting part of this entire series. It's more on. As I said before,
it's a bad game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, it's them. Yeah, you're right. It's cat and mouse. It's them outdoing each other, but it's also this commentary on the powerless and a powered world, which I liked. But like you said,
I would have liked it if it were better executed.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of it. I just don't think it was as executed well as it could have been. Anything else about this main narrative?
I get kind of what they're going for with the Salinger character. I think you're correct. A combination of Lex Luthor's kind of worldview from the DC stuff with a very, very 12th grade fan fiction version of Hannibal Lecter. I've written better fiction involving Hannibal than this. It's again, you can kind of see where they're going, but then they never really if you want to get into the profiles of a serial killer kind of thing, they never really even commit to that. They touch a little little bits and pieces of his backstory, but if you want to try and create something loosely compelling, I mean, look, by contrast, let's talk a little bit, again, purely for contrast, about David Tennant's Purple Man. Because there's a couple of scenes where he, despite being, a malignant narcissist and a sociopath in his own right, when he kind of explains a little bit to Jessica about elements of his mentality, and they don't make him sympathetic, but they do offer some explanation. When he kind of talks about, my whole freaking life Literally anything I asked for, I got. And he is somewhat self-aware enough to go, do you see what that's done to me? And again, it does not excuse any of the terrible things he's done, but it does offer a bit of explanation about how we arrived at this point. And it's enough of a note. I mean, there's actually a few different scenes in that season where he is in a position to simply get what he wants via his power, but deliberately chooses not to because he's making an effort to do things differently.
It's not satisfying.
Yeah, true. And again, this fleshes him out without making us like him.
Right.
And that's not anything they even really remotely strike with Salinger. They talk a little bit, and he talks about his backstory. You know, my dad stabbed me at my brother's funeral luncheon, saying it should have been me. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that the way he delivered that line was not supposed to be funny, but given the context, it was. My dad said he wished it was me. I'm sure he didn't mean it. He stabbed me in the chest at the funeral luncheon. Okay, he meant it. They just, again, they kind of never really find the right balance as far as, you know, what's supposed to be kind of dark gallows humor and what's supposed to be tragic. And they never really flesh him out to the point where he becomes compelling beyond his initial appearance. Because let's be fair, his initial appearance when he walks in on Jessica having broken into his house, and you get just, you know, a little bit of a glimpse into the way this guy is going to play the game.
So I want to cut you off there. So his interaction with Jessica Jones is, you know, he's essentially able to outthink her by playing the victim. And I was telling my wife recently, I said, we live in such a vindictive world where it's so easy for the smartest, most smarmiest amongst us to get away with terrible things because they know how to manipulate the system. They know the right things to say and the right people to say them to in the right way to get what they want. And perfectly innocent but slow-thinking people end up becoming abused indirectly by the system itself because of the way it's set up, but directly by the people who know how to do it. And that scene was so, it was just so perfect in demonstrating that. He's like, you're a powered person and you broke into my house. I just have to go, you hit me. And that's it. You know, all the sympathy's on my side.
There's also a giant waste of cinematic screen time in that whole scene that I have to point out because this bothered me to no end. Because if you're gonna, you know, it's, you know, what is it, Chekhov's gun? Mm-hmm. She records that entire conversation on her phone. Mm-hmm. And then it amounts to nothing. If you're going to go through the effort of showing us that she is smart enough to record the entirety of this interaction, you better do something with that knowledge or you've literally wasted screen time.
Right. Yeah, nothing comes of it. All right. Let's move on. So, the past two seasons, I mean, season one, not so much. Season one, I thought the stuff with Jerry tied directly into the main narrative after a spell. And in this one, excuse me, still dealing with some sickness here.
No doubt exacerbated by elements of this season.
If I recall in the second season, Jerry's narrative just goes spinning into the ether and barely connects to the main line, to the point where I think I remember talking to you about this, going, I really hated the Jerry stuff. Like, she's not a nice character, she's not an interesting character, and then she does shitty things that don't connect to anything, and I'm like, why are we even following her?
Yeah, that's a lot of season 2. It's a lot of season 3 as well, quite frankly.
Well, no, see, I disagree with that, because it seems that way. You know, when she's pursuing her ex-lover, who's now married to a man, it's coming across like, once again, we're in left field with Jerry. But clearly that it more runs parallel to what's happening with Jessica, and then things start to intertwine once Jerry's world is starting to be undermined, and the rugs are being pulled out from under her, and she's now just trying to grasp at anything to keep her life afloat. And in order to do that, she has to come in opposition to Jessica, which she doesn't really believe, and she lacks any kind of integrity. But it's a strategy. It's a strategy for to the point where she's almost a villain in this.
Look, I maintain as far as the entirety of Jessica Jones, basically, there's no one you really root for. There's just a handful of people that rotate through how much you root against them. And even in season 1, when you have this tremendous amount of sympathy for Jessica because of the way her story is presented. Like, she gets less sympathetic as time goes on, not because the material is necessarily weaker. It is, but I don't think that's the cause of it.
Look, here's the deal. She's a shithead, but unlike Tony, she's not charming. She's got she has no charisma. And she doesn't mean well. She's just she's been burned, and she's decided that she's going to go through life being a cynical bitch. And she has, and the only saving grace that she has is when left with no other options, her conscience will occasionally get the better of her, and she'll do the right thing, begrudgingly and with a shit grin, with a shit face the entire time.
That's just Kristen Ritter's face.
Anyway, back to Jerry. Her
stuff gets. I get what they're doing. I like, again, it does kind of tie into Jessica in various places because there's a really badly handled attempt at a narrative play throughout this entire season about what constitutes justice, who actually deserves it, who are we to decide, who are you to decide. Well, shouldn't somebody decide because the system sucks? Again, it's badly handled at most turns.
There's a lot of talk about vigilanteism, but I thought it was kind of misplaced. Like, didn't we do this with the Punisher already?
Yes, better.
And didn't we do this with Daredevil?
Yes, better.
That's my point. Like, I think independent of knowing anything else about the Marvel series or just forgetting them at the time of watching, this is okay. This is fine. These are interesting things. But then when you start to think about, like, wait a minute, these are drums that were thoroughly beaten in better shows. You're like, why are we doing this again?
It's a question that they have no answer for, as far as why we're doing this again.
I'm wondering.
So again, the point being, some of Jerry's actions get to take place around that philosophy, not because she herself is some great champion of the ideology that everyone deserves due process, and even the worst among us deserves an active defense, because if it applies to everyone or it applies to no one, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But rather than actually be, kind of a spokesperson for that mindset or that perspective on things, we all know she's such a duplicitous, unreliable, terrible character that she's just playing it because that's the card she knows she can use to manipulate everyone. The actual point never finds a spokesperson outside of maybe little bits of the Malcolm's brief love interest.
Carrie Ann Moss as Jerry Hogarth. I mean, I think she plays the character as well as that kind of character can be played. And again, I thought her narrative arc in this complemented the Jessica Jones stuff much better than anything in season 2. And I don't remember how much of a role she played in season 1, to be honest.
Well, season 1, she mostly just gets Jessica out of tight spots, has a brief interaction with David Tennant's character. David Tennant actually gets her estranged wife to try to kill her very slowly by being cut into 1,000 pieces, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like the one thing of season 1 that I remember that dealt with her. But other than that, like, you said before, the cast of characters in this is so wholly unlikable, and in large part they are, And I'm going to ask you about him next, but I mean, I like the Mindwave character. I thought he was kind of fun.
I mean, he was likable more by comparison than on his own merits.
He also had some charm to him.
He did, and that goes a long way. And I mean, there's that moment when they're kind of like, okay, we can put Salinger away and take a shot every time they bring that point up if you want to get like alcohol poisoning. And he says, "No, I'd have to do time, and my power it would literally rupture my brain to be around that many evil people that consistently."
By the way, are Marvel writers just done with the idea of powers need to be explained? Because, like, you don't know how he got his powers. He just has them. I don't know if they even talked about how Kilgrave got his powers.
Kilgrave was technically a mutant, I think. Like, that was kind of their thing, was that he just emits from him this airborne virus in a specific proximity that affects everyone that comes into it.
Okay, you just explained what his power is. You didn't explain. That doesn't tell me where he got it from. And, okay, he's a mutant, but mutants don't exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe just
either
yet.
Either that he was experimented on by his parents. Like, I'd have to rewatch the season to see if they actually touched on it, but I don't think they do. And can I just also... I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. Who cares?
Look, if you're going to have... You have 13 episodes. Maybe some degree of explanation as to how he got his powers, how the greater world works here, because so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we've got... You built a suit, alien technology, or you were experimented on by scientists. That's it.
Sounds about right.
Actually, there is a fourth way, but they don't make use of it anymore. It showed up in one show, and they haven't really gone back to it. And I think it's a great. I think once it was introduced, I'm actually surprised. I don't know what happens at Marvel when it comes to the TV shows, how much integration there is between the TV.
No
and
one
movies.
cares about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Terra Genesis release. No one.
And you got where I was going. But at least if they had said, yeah, I was born normal, no one experimented on me or anything. It's just one day I was walking around and suddenly I was in this cocoon, and when I got out of this cocoon, I had these powers. I don't understand it. All I know is I used to take fish oil. It's a little detail that you might not remember. It was in the fish oil.
Look, again, I barely watched season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know what happens because you yap about it on occasion, but I don't watch the show. It's not good enough to warrant my time.
It's like the one detail about the show that I think has potentially a greater storytelling implication than anything they used it for. And fuck,
Sure.
At least the Inhumans exist in this world. Mutants don't. All right, I don't want to belabor this point.
The Inhumans do not exist. No one actually sees it, so it doesn't exist.
Okay. You want anything more about Jerry or Eric that you want to talk about? Like I said, I liked Eric's minor arc in this thing. Of he's this guy, he's kind of morally ambiguous, he has these powers, he doesn't particularly want to use them in a heroic way, so he kind of uses them to make a living by blackmailing people, and it largely works. It's kind of the roulette wheel way of doing things. He kind of covers the board, and most will pay, and and then he can go. He can then go do other things that he likes doing, like gambling. Just sort of a Soho, devil may care, just kind of existing in the world to exist kind of guy. And then he runs afoul of Jessica, and of all the people that try to want to make somebody a better person, here's this hard-boiled, hard-drinking asshole of a gal who's like, listen, I'm not even that bad. Step up a bit. Step up just a bit. So I enjoyed him when he was on screen. I enjoyed his addition to the cast of characters.
Yeah, he was a fine addition. I don't really have any problems with him being on screen. I mean, the whole bit with his sister was just, that could have been cut.
Well, again, they have to find stuff for guys like Malcolm to do, and I feel like they worked backwards from that.
Yeah, and can we talk for just a second or two about Malcolm?
Be my guest.
He actually has had the most, I think if you compare him from season 1 to the end of season 3, he's the only one who actually gets a real fully realized character arc.
Yeah.
Because he goes from junkie, wannabe assistant to Jessica, to clean, trying to put up with her crap, telling her to piss off at the end of season 2, to deciding on the merits of all the arguments that, you know what, the places like, you know, Hogarth's law firm and whatnot, they're just not where I am best equipped to be. I can do it, but it destroys part of my soul to be in that world because I am so good at what I do. I wind up doing things that I can't live with. So I makes a conscious decision then to step away from that and do stuff that, while it might pay less, he's still good at he can live with himself now. And which is he does in some respects, for a lot of this season in particular, represent that great kind of internal debate we all go through. Do I, how much crap am I willing to put up with? And how much of myself am I willing to give to my profession before I say enough's enough, or I have to buy in wholly and just become a giant bag of dicks?
Yeah, he is probably the best written character in terms of having a fully realized arc in season 3. It's a shame that we're saying that about a character that was invented for this series. Not, well, we haven't gotten to Trish yet, but, that it's not Jessica, it's not Mindwave, it's not Hellcat, it's this guy. And it's like, I mean, that's fine.
You want to go with it's fine. Someone's well written, I'll take it.
Well, it's like, there's a lot of TV to watch. But the attraction of these shows is you want to see a superhero show, and I'm willing to loosely define the word superhero in order for there to be some creativity in what's out there. Cloak and Dagger is actually a really good example of this. And before you shit all over it, let me say Cloak and Dagger, especially season 2, is a weird fucking season, man. But I was reading some of the reviews for Cloak and Dagger, and because they don't have like a signature storyline. This is literally almost word for word the review. They don't have a signature storyline or graphic novel to take from, and they're really lesser-known characters. Like, long-time comic book readers will know who Cloak and Dagger are, but they kind of, appeared in other people's books. They appeared in Spider-Man. They would appear in the Avengers here and there. I don't think their own stuff ever sold very well. That you had an opportunity... I
mean, because they're not that interesting, let's be fair.
Yeah. You had an opportunity with Cloak and Dagger to do an interesting thing, if the hook is it's a Marvel show, and so right now Marvel has all this cachet that they can afford to play with the lesser known properties, people will tune in because of the it's a Marvel IP. You have a built-in audience. But then now once the people are there, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to do the same thing over and over and over again, or are you going to do something really interesting? And Cloak and Dagger is probably the oddest, most out there, interesting Marvel superhero show I've ever seen. Now, I don't think it's going to get massive. But the thing's on Freeform and Hulu, for God's sake. It's not going to get a massive audience. I think its average rating was a 0.1. So this is not
people watch Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, but I think sort of a niche thing. It's just a way for ABC TV and Freeform to get people to watch their network so they can pitch them some other stuff. I think Cloak and Dagger works just fine.
So you realize it has the same problem pro wrestling does. By which I mean, and this is something that every channel that has ever hosted WWE television has found out the hard way. Wrestling fans don't stick around for other stuff.
No, but I'll tell you this. Viceland has done 2 documentary series on wrestling. But because at that time they also were running commercials for Bong Appetit, I became a fan of the network. Because then I started watching Bong Appetit, and I don't watch the other show, Most Expensivist. Let me first say I apologize for that name on your, on behalf of Viceland to you, because I'm sure you just heard me say Most Expensivist.
I know
and a blood vessel
said.
bursted.
I heard it. Yeah. I mean, look, I would never watch that other stupid show that you just referenced either.
Bong Appetit.
Sure, whatever. No, never.
Anyway, the point that I was getting to with all of this is the hook is that it's a superhero show. Your focus should be kind of on the superhero characters, not the ones you wholly invented for the show. So it's sort of it's a missed opportunity and not great writing when the best written character is Malcolm and not Jones, Trish, Mindwave, or fucking Fool Killer. Just saying.
I don't disagree with you.
All right. We have been chatting about this show, and I have been trying to talk through stifled coughs and phlegm for about 45 minutes. Are you ready to do this? You ready to have it out?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
All right. This is what we've all been waiting for. Hellcat. Trish Walker's got superpowers.
Look, Trish Walker takes parkour for 6 months. Like, come on.
I was going to say poorly defined superpowers.
God, that she is like the worst. The worst. Like, hey, I've got agility. Like, I watch American Ninja Warrior 2, lady. You ain't that special.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the teaser for that was she caught her cell phone on her foot. So,
I can see in the dark now. Good for you.
Right. So it's like she's got some degree of better balance than she had. She can move at a slightly faster pace than I think the average human, but she's not a speedster, and she doesn't have super strength or healing factor. I'm like, wow, you're a shit superhero.
I mean, look, the fact that she can fall from incredible distances and land on her feet should not at all deter the fact that, you know, bones would be shattered and joints destroyed.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, take the totality
of the
power.
She lands on her feet, does she then get to negate some of the laws of physics?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, fair, but come on, let's actually...
You either have to have a super strong skeletal system, you either have to have some degree of super strength in order to withstand the fall, or you don't.
You can even just straight up say she has some kind of like impact or kinetic absorption. But then Jessica can't throw her around like a rag doll. So, oh, wait. Just cats. Cats land on their feet and don't take damage, right? You ever drop a cat out of a third-story window? It lands on its feet, but it ain't pretty.
You get cat soup. So that's what I mean. Like, they get no points for her. I got the impression with this season that they had something else in mind for this season. Then Netflix went and canceled everything, and they just threw the script out. Then they wrote something, and then they were given their budget, and then they threw that out, and they were like, okay, well, with a budget of $1.50, and knowing that we can't continue the series, what do you want to do? We have 13 episodes we have to produce, and this is what they came up with.
I imagine you're partially correct there. And they also give Trish some of the straight-up worst lines of dialogue. I mean, the straight-up dirt worst.
Well, it's so funny because, like,
hilariously bad. Like, I almost think it has to be deliberate. When she says something like, "Have you ever trained? I've spent the last year honing my skills." Like, who the hell talks like that?
That's the thing. Like, from a philosophical perspective, she kind of runs. You know, she's sort of counter to the Punisher, where the Punisher, you know, his philosophy is these are bad people and they don't deserve to live. And why would you give? I think he says this to Daredevil. In fact, why would you give someone a second crack at you? Just kill him and be done with this.
He does. I believe he says that in Daredevil season 2. When they're on the roof, like, and which is a really great scene between those two, because Daredevil's whole point is, yeah, they're going to screw up, but I'm not going to take away their chance to try and do better. And the Punisher's like, nuts to that.
Yeah.
I'll stand before God and make my case to him. Until then...
Right. Yeah, it's
Until then, I am perfectly comfortable shooting the bikers, running over people, and bashing into kitty pornographer's face with a baseball bat.
Well, I think from just a strategic point of view, again, if you can take... This isn't combat sports. You know, if you can take somebody out and be done with this, then do so.
Yeah, can I just say, I laugh. I've started laughing real hard every time some moron fighter decides to bring up if there weren't rules, I'd have killed you. Like, buddy, if we were going to fight to the death, I'd blow up your house 3 weeks before the fight. Like, that's a stupid argument.
Yeah. Right, and I was like, well, if there were no rules, I'd just bring a gun in. What
Yeah,
are we doing
like-
here?
Again, I'd
so
happily
Tri-
just blow up your house.
So Trish's philosophy runs counter to the Punisher, where she, her whole thing with Jessica is she sort of lived vicariously through her when she was powered because she believed in doing the greater good, and she just kind of goes crazy with that to the point, and she's also driven crazy when Salinger kills her mom. But before all that, I wanted to talk about the relationship between her and Jessica because it starts off with, Trisha feeling like, Jessica's mom was a serial killer, murderer, and she needed to be put down. And Jessica's like, but it's my mom, and it wasn't your place to do so. And whatever side you kind of take in the argument, you at least can see the conflict for its merits.
I mean, their great quasi reconciliation for a while consisted of the following lines: Trish going, I wish I hadn't shot your mom," and Jessica going, "Yeah, I really wish she hadn't been a brain damaged mass murderer."
Yeah. And I enjoyed the episodes where they were sort of teaming up together and trying to solve the mystery of who this, of what could put Salinger away, what evidence was also out there, who was his first kill. That stuff I thought was pretty good, especially because when they were doing kind of a buddy cop thing, and Jessica's like,
"Boy, here's it's your favorite movie, The Odd Couple."
I enjoyed that. I mean, your mileage may vary, and you and I don't always have the same taste, but I was enjoying those bits, and I'm getting to.
I mean, in all seriousness, if that worked for you, Godspeed and party on. It's not badly done.
But the part where hey, Patsy needs to have a meltdown, I dropped my keys and I don't know what to do. I'm dying laughing. I thought that was great. The fact that she could revert to, just dumb, spoiled actress gal, it was so funny to me. It was right up there with Thor and Loki doing Bring Help or whatever the hell they called it.
I hate that movie so much, but the fact that they just improv that bit, it's no surprise that in a movie written by those jokers, that something that Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth decided to do on the fly would be the only memorable thing about the movie. Does not surprise me. We're gonna do Get Help. I don't want to do Get Help. Come on, we're gonna do Get Help. It's a classic. All right, fine. Get Help. Works every time.
Yeah, Patsy needs a meltdown.
I'm just going to chuck Loki at him. Some days you just have to hit a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
But then Pat... So you have these two diametrically opposed philosophies when it comes to, what it means to be a hero. Jessica is she's kind of coming from that Eric school of nobody is redeemable, there's no point in being a hero. The world, it's a very... sort of Nietzsche, the word I'm looking for here is...
nihilistic.
Yeah, nihilistic way of looking at things. And then there's Patsy who's like, no, I've always wanted this. I've wanted to help people. I've been in this... And I'll tell you, this it's a very true thing, because I've met a lot of people who had early success in their life, whether it be business or in, the theatrical arts, and they get to a place where they feel like, well, I've made a lot of money, and I've done a lot of really fun things, but my life feels empty and hollow, and I don't feel like I've ever helped anybody, and I feel bad because of it, so I'm going to go now be a social worker. Ran into a lot of those in grad school. And I feel like that's where she was coming from, where she was like, well, I've had this sort of hedonistic life for the longest time, and I haven't made a difference, and now I have the opportunity and the ability to, especially in a world with people with suits of armor and alien technology and super strength and inhuman abilities. But I can, so I'm going to compete with that by falling out of high buildings onto my feet. Cool.
And I'm certified in Krav Maga. Yeah, good.
Did you throw something at your TV when you saw that?
Again, they give Trish the worst dialogue. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it has to be intentional. They just have to go, you know what? What does the dumbest person in the world sound like when put in these situations?
Which is weird because, this isn't the Tony Cap split in Civil War where you can really see both sides of that argument. In this one, Trish really does have a point. You should be good when given the ability and the opportunity to do so. I don't think there's a counter argument to that makes any sense, that isn't the most selfish thing ever. But because it's coming from the mouth of a complete idiot, you're like, oh, well, this is an even debate. It's like, I'm right, but I'm dumb. And that's equal to Jessica being completely wrong, but sounding cool in being completely wrong. It's the weirdest mix of dialogue and performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's true that Trish has... There's elements of what Trish is trying to say that are correct. That, if... Let me just steal the old stupid Spider-Man line. With great power... Everyone knows what comes after that.
Comes many franchises.
Ugh.
My kids asked me today how many Spider-Man movies are, and I'm like, well, what are we counting as Spider-Man movies at this point?
Well, let me tell you a story, Lily, about Sony. You'll need a shower afterwards because, Sony, but... Yeah, again, she does have a point, but then she just... I suppose we may as well deal with the elephant in the room that, hey, let's rehash the same old boy is it moral to kill people argument.
That we did in The Punisher and Daredevil.
I mean, look, The Punisher, what I like about The Punisher's take on it is Frank Castle at no point in the entirety of any presentation we have seen of him pretends to be a good guy.
Right.
He is not deluding himself. He's very much, you know what? I know who I am. I know what I do. I've accepted the consequences of my choices.
I will kill until I can no longer kill for whatever the reasons are. End of discussion.
And he and Daredevil bounce off each other in very interesting ways. But I think Daredevil Season 3 actually is the best discussion in a television series that we have so far of that conflict. Because here you have Matt, a person who just doesn't really, at his core, believe that it is within his right to end another human life, but he's so lost and broken that he doesn't care anymore. So he's willing to just throw away who he is as a person for some semblance of victory. And at the very end, when he has the opportunity to kill Kingpin, and he wants to, and again, this is the eternal struggle that Daredevil symbolizes, but it runs throughout a great many other superheroes. He wants to kill him. He really wants to kill him, but he knows what it would do to him,
right,
if he takes that step. And and it's not that he can't. He is capable, and in some respects he's very willing, but he makes the choice that I will not. He tells Fisk, who is at the end saying, "Nah, go ahead and kill me," because he knows he will claim a victory even from, the grave, because he will have destroyed who Matt Murdock is as a person if he takes that step. So when he stops himself from killing him and just screams in his face, "You don't get to destroy who I am." It's that whole scene is brilliant. I've rewatched it a few times since then, and just, it's so great. And so, but that is, I think, the best representation of this discussion, in no small part because the way it's presented is that, Matt has conflict about this, and Matt is the hero. Jessica doesn't seem terribly conflicted about not killing this guy. Despite him being, just, again, I get that she rationalized killing Kilgrave because his abilities left literally no other option.
Right.
There's no cell for him. He exists because of what he could do.
They would have needed to put the mutant inhibiting collar on him somehow.
Something like that. There's just no way to effectively deal with him, and which leaves you with the ultimate question of, okay, do I do something that will damage me personally, or do I live with myself continuing to go on, knowing that this guy's out there and I could stop him? And she chooses to kill him. Here, again, there's no conflict. She has just decided, you know what, I don't like what killing someone did to me, and fair enough. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, unless you're Frank. But that's why Frank Castle is Frank Castle, and everyone else is everyone else. But it leads to just, I think, and I get that they tried to frame the conflict in a way that made sense, but the execution of this, of Jessica saving Scarface, whose name just completely blanked from me, when she literally puts herself between him and Trish, I'm sorry, that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, if you want to tell the story of her trying to stop Trish because she is worried about what taking his life will do to her, fine. That's a good story to tell. That's a good narrative beat to hit. Find a more realistically plausible scenario than her deciding, here's this guy who killed my adopted mother, has been tormenting me for almost the entirety of this season. I mean, it made slightly more sense when Luke Cage decided, you know what, Viola who the hell was it? Because there's that entire, 2 or 3 episode arc in Luke Cage season 2 where he's defending Councilwoman What's-Her-Fanny from Bushmaster, and I'm sitting there the whole time going, this makes very little sense. You want her dead.
Right.
Like, this woman has done nothing but evil to you and yours, and your response is, and again, if you would pull her out of a burning building or stop someone from actively shooting her, fair. You have a conscience, I get it. You're taking extraordinary measures, and then the fact that as soon as they resolve that, she immediately, burns down the Jamaican Quarter. And then Luke, has the temerity to feel bad about this. Buddy, you had a choice to make. Here's the consequence.
Yeah.
But that made which I thought was stupid at the time, but that made marginally more sense than the way they executed this one, where serial killer I've been trying to take down who's tried to kill me, who's responsible for the loss of one of my internal organs, thanks very much for the lifetime of medication I'll be on. And I'm going to literally stand right between him and you because I'm so worried about you. There's better ways to do that. Tell a chase story where she's constantly getting in Trish's way as Trish is on her way to the hospital, because somewhere in Jessica's mind she knows, you know what? If I see them together, I'm not going that far out of my way for this guy.
So I have a minor nitpick. It's just kind of an aesthetic thing. Personal issue I had with this season. When she's drinking because she's in the wake of being abused and separating herself from Kilgrave, that made sense. She's continuing to drink in season 2.
Well, in 2, I'll give it a little bit of a pass because she's dealing with having murdered. Murdered.
That's what I'm saying. This is now she's murdered Kilgrave. Plus the fact that
she's processing.
So, she's got all these unresolved issues, and then her mom turns back up.
Mom shows up.
So using alcohol as a crutch to sort of cope with these emerging feelings. But once that all got resolved, it was as if the writers, again, were looking at the characterization of Jessica Jones going, she's sarcastic, and she drinks. Okay, but she drank for a reason. Those reasons are more or less resolved. And then you bring up an interesting point. That's why I thought about it. After she gets stabbed and she no longer has a spleen, it's like, as an act of self-preservation, maybe stop drinking gallons of whiskey. And it's like, well, we can't do that. Then she isn't Jessica Jones anymore. Which would be like saying you can't make Iron Fist. Iron Fist has to wear something green and yellow, or he's not Iron Fist. No, there's more to him than that.
The hero is not the costume nor a single point of characterization.
Yeah. I thought they overdid it with the drink. Like, she has a drink in her hand in every scene.
Well, and, they do a little bit where she's, like, all quasi re-traumatized for, like, an episode and a half over being stabbed. Gets over that relatively quickly, apropos of nothing but plot convenience. And then they just kind of forget the rest, like, just any other time that she's, like, you have a lot of just kind of dead time where she's watching people or having meaningless conversations. Have the alarm go off where she has to take her pills again. Like, stop. You lose a spleen. She's not Wolverine. She didn't grow it back. If that's going to be something you want to have this character have, you got to commit to it, and it can't be just for 2 episodes before she stops looking a little bit jaundiced, resumes all of her bad habits, and stops taking pills. Like, no, I'm sorry. If you want to sell, slightly increased healing as her being able to cope better, fair. There's a lot of that crap, though, that is just with you for life.
So, the last thing I'm going to bring up, and then I think we're done here. I gotta move this along. Unless you had any burning desires with the Jessica Trish stuff.
With them, no, not really. It's stuff that you've seen done better in other shows. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of, it's just not very good.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing Trish does is right at the end as as her list of charges is being read to her, and she goes, "I'm the bad guy," with this just really kind of quasi-heartbroken look on her face, rather than... I mean, that's supposed to be an earth-shattering revelation to someone who's been the least interesting moral absolutist ever conceived.
I would have loved to have seen her actually enter the raft and go. Like, who's in the raft at this point?
No one. Captain America rescued them all already.
Well, they're talking about... I mean, no, well, but but here's the thing, like... what's his face? Diamondback. He sent to the raft, but why? He's just a dude with an Iron Man suit. Like, she's powered, but you're telling me you couldn't, you couldn't put her in a regular prison and control her in some way? She's that overpowering. I want to know who's in this raft now. Anyway, a big to do.
Look, they spent how many hundreds of millions of dollars building that thing out in the middle of nowhere? They're putting anybody on it they can to justify its existence, especially after Captain America, without his suit or his shield, waltzes in and frees all their high-profile detainees at the end of Civil War. Like, boy, we got people. Look, we got Hawkeye, we got Ant-Man. Who else
Falcon.
do they have? We got Falcon. Who else?
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, did they have her there?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had her in a straitjacket.
Yeah, we've got... we have these genuinely dangerous superheroes. And, okay, yeah, what happened? Captain America showed up. Well, okay, did he have a shield? No. Didn't even have a suit. It was him in, like, a leather jacket. It was just generic Steve Rogers, who somehow hijacked a vehicle out to the raft in the middle of nowhere and busted everybody out because...
Like somewhere in the bottom of the Indian Ocean or some shit.
Because Captain America is the man. But...
So, much ado was made about having a transgender character in this show. And I'm kind of conflicted about this because on the one hand, transgender people...
Oh, God, who cares?
Hang on, it's worthy of discussion if the media ran with it, is my point.
Look, that's a perfectly acceptable character who does perfectly acceptable character things. Who cares?
But that's the thing. Like, if I didn't read up on that and try to figure out who it was, you would not. That they make a point of saying there's a transgendered character in this, except nothing about her character, not a mention, not a used to be, nothing.
Good. Who cares?
Brings up the fact that she's transgendered. So maybe was the actress.
I'm going with a great big. Who cares?
Okay, you can yell "Who cares" at me all you want, but this is something to talk about because Marvel made a point, in ABC Studios and whatever, made a point of including...
And Disney made a great big point about their first gay scene in Beauty and the Beast, and it turned out to be nothing.
I was going to say, they didn't make a point about it. Everybody else did.
I'm still going with who cares. Like it's not made it's not preached about. It's not made a big deal. It's another character in the world.
My point is, why even talk about it?
Because if you're a studio, you have to virtue signal.
But then do something with the character.
No, because then you're preachy and alienating your audience.
This is stupid.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It is the dumbest thing. You have a character, write the character, let the character do character things. Who cares?
Look, I'm okay with the way Orange is the New Black handles it. Did they say we have it? We have a transgendered character. We have a transgendered actress playing, I think, a transgendered character in that one. And she's like gone around the bend talking about it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's cool. That's that's forward thinking. I'm okay with all of these things. Here's the thing. Either if you want to hire an actor or an actress who happens to be transgendered, but their character they're playing isn't, that's one thing, and then write it that way. They wrote this like the character is transgendered, then there's no mention of it, to the point where why would you then bring that up?
Again, do I have to go over the stupidity of this again? Because it is I can tell you why.
It irritated me, damn it.
Yes, it's stupid. Our culture is stupid.
I want to find the wiki entry on this real quick.
If you feel like it, again, it's just stupid. It's again, not that the character's not stupid. The character's the character. I have no issue with it. I don't care. The character's she's a supporting character who exists in the show and does supporting character things. Is not grating, is not badly written, is perfectly acceptable.
I was going to say, I actually thought her interactions with Jessica was funny, up to and including Jessica finally saying, "You cut the sass and just do what I tell you."
Okay, if that stuff works for you, then it works for you. And again, it's not badly done. I could not possibly care less if the character is trans or not. I could not possibly care less if the actor is trans or not. Who cares?
So her name is Anish Sheth, and she is in fact a transgendered person.
Okay. Still going with I don't care.
I'm glad So we're on a podcast where we talk about stuff. I just wanted to remind you of that.
In all seriousness, what's there to talk about apart from crappy virtue signaling by the people in charge, by the studios? There's nothing to talk about with the character. The character is a perfectly acceptable supporting ancillary character in the role that she occupies, right?
So here's an article.
Oh, God.
The more you fight me, the more I'm fighting back.
All right. You asked for it.
Anish Sheth, star of Marvel's Jessica Jones. It's not all about the... Yes, star in quotes. It's not all about the trans narrative.
It's not any about the trans narrative. It's just a character.
Marvel's Jessica Jones has such devoted fans. Jesus
no, it
Christ,
doesn't.
I hate pop-ups.
Look, hate whoever wrote this.
Final series had to be filmed in New York under a code name. The noir drama about an ex-superhero who opens a detective agency has blazed a trail with its feminist lead and nuanced explorations around issues of sexuality, rape, and PTSD.
This is so... Oh, God. That's so stupid. This is also clearly not a person who saw season 2 at all.
No. By the way, this is from inews.co.uk.
Oh, the UK, of course.
The last series arrives on Netflix this week, concluding the streaming platform's 4-year collaboration with Marvel, but continuing its commitment to change the way people from the LGBTQ community are represented on TV and how their stories are told. Kristen Ritter's superpowered private investigator will be joined by a new assistant, Jillian, a transgender character played by a trans actress.
Again, who cares? You hired a competent actor. You wrote the character competently. I'm sorry, is this the baseline now? Because you don't suck ass at your job, we're supposed to stand up and clap like seals? Shut up! You did your damn job to the baseline competency. Good for you. Here's all the other stuff you sucked at, by the way, that we spent the last hour going over.
How would you know she was trans if I didn't read that article to you?
I don't care.
But if you were somebody else, the average person,
I still wouldn't care.
I feel like you're hearing me, but you're not acknowledging it.
Okay. So you want me to pretend like I'm quasi-brain dead? Well, how dare they not make an issue of her Why was there not a scene where she was evicted from a bathroom for having improper genitals? We must talk about how unfair... Shut up!
The point being, Rob...
Who cares?
No, the point being that you seem to be running around is that when you're given... I can't remember, sides, I think they are... When you're given like a character description, say, this is your character, play it, all that was needed was sassy, back-talking assistant.
Sure.
That's it. That's all that character was.
Yes.
Okay? You could have also given her a side that said, character is asshole, who works for Jessica Jones. That also would have worked.
Yes.
Why was it necessary to say that this character is transgendered, then do nothing with it in the narrative?
Oh, God. This is... Okay, I don't know why you and I are at such cross paths on this.
Because I needed to find something to end this podcast on?
Here's my perspective on this. And this is just me. So take it or leave it. I don't care. I care if you preach at me. Whether you're preaching philosophy or politics or whatever else that I agree with or disagree with, I don't like being preached at. It's stupid. It's demeaning, it diminishes everything you try to do with your actual content, and it's a giant waste of everyone's time. They wrote a character that was sassy and they wrote sassy back-talking assistant. And then, sure, why not be... Is there any reason that this character shouldn't have been trans?
But my point is, and I feel like you're not hearing
No.
me.
Here's my point.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
You're right, it doesn't matter because they didn't make that a part of her characterization, yet they felt the need to put that in there. Here's the thing.
And I already said it's because we must virtue signal as a studio, which is stupid, but they have to do it because mob mentality, I don't know. It's stupid.
Okay, but I feel the need to shame them for it.
Okay, I just said, it's stupid, they're stupid, let's move on.
But instead of yelling, I don't care, I don't want to talk about it, la, 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 like I'm talking to my father-in-law... I wanted to talk about it because I wanted to point out not just that it was stupid, but why it was stupid. Because unless you're talking about a character whose race or gender or sexuality is an important part of their characteristic, like, here's a thought. Black Panther probably needs to be black. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Know.
Okay? But Doctor Strange doesn't need to be white. Doctor Strange is a neurosurgeon who turns into a wizard. None of that has anything to do with sexuality. The name Doctor Strange, other than based on source material, if you just throw that out and say, hey, we're taking this character and we're putting them on the big screen or whatever, and here's what we know about Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a neurosurgeon. Doctor Strange is a wizard. Doctor Strange is one of the smartest intellects on the planet. Could be played by a woman, could be played by any race, could be played by a transgender person. Doesn't really matter as long as you get those qualities.
Sure. So, to extend that argument and that point to this character, all you needed was a sassy back-talking assistant.
Right. Which, if you want to cast somebody who's transgender in that role, who gives a shit, can go for
Congratulations, you arrived at my point.
We have an audience. You got to lead them there, don't you see? Don't you see, Robert? You got to lead people there.
Look, if our audience doesn't know me well enough by now to know that I don't care about stuff like that, I don't know what to tell you.
This isn't about you, Dad. This is about us discussing a television show and examining it from
sadly, at this point, we're now talking about the stupidity of released promo material because of what studios want to release to get good press.
Which is also a statement on this particular season that I have run out of shit to talk about that pertains to the season itself and now have to examine the marketing around it.
Well, because, the season itself is meh.
Yes, that's my point.
Yeah, the whole thing's meh. And I'm not going to get up in arms over this because I don't care.
I wasn't getting up in arms over it, though.
Sorry. Okay. I'm not going to get up in arms over it because I don't care. And look,
it is a worthy discussion point whether or not it tickles your sack.
I'm not sure it is.
It is, though.
I mean, again, look,
because we're living in a world where you know, characterization is so defined by variables of race, sexuality, and gender that even when they don't play a huge role in the role, they have to get put in there because, as you put it, virtue signaling. It sucks and it's stupid.
Again, our culture right now is profoundly stupid. What do you want to do about it?
I want to whine about it on a podcast.
Fair enough.
I think that's as good a place to end this discussion as any.
Well, I don't know why you even felt the need to discuss that at all. It was just...
Because it's a thing that's... Really? We just went over this.
You're just desperate for content.
Yeah. It was a discussion point that was out there. I needed to bring it up. And it irritated me. I want to be clear about that. I want to be clear about anyone that's listening to this. Irritated
Mark
me.
Radulich, irritated by trans people.
Shut up, asshole. It irritated me because you wouldn't, under normal circumstances, write that as into a characterization unless you were virtue signaling.
Sure,
stop virtue signaling.
That's 85% of marketing nowadays, and it's stupid. Same reason John Cena does all this stupid "Love is Love" commercials, because he wants to make sure he's properly a nerd moving on from the world of professional wrestling from his 2 decades of saying and doing really stupid stuff because that's what the script told him to do.
So that's our coverage of Jessica Jones. John Cena is dumb.
Look, John Cena is the best human being the professional wrestling world has ever produced, but...
I'm going to give this season a C+.
That's about right.
It was a very average...
In terms of... no, I'm going to go lower.
Of course you are.
I mean, I'd give it a D.
I think the writing was par. I thought they had good ideas that just weren't executed as well as they could have been. I thought there were some missed opportunities, but I was mostly entertained. I thought the story moved at a pretty brisk pace to where there wasn't a tremendous amount of wasted time like there was in season 2, where I was screaming "get on with it" a lot of the times.
There is wasted time in season 2, but it's more spread out than all focused around boy, mother, daughter, Hallmark movie.
So
it's just Trish and Jessica crappy melodrama.
The consensus of the reviews on this was sort of a punch in the gut sort of way to end the Marvel Netflix series. And like I said before, I don't know how much latitude ABC had to produce something that was going to be outstanding. So, or whether or not they even had the talent to do so. I'm
questioning the talent behind the I'm questioning a fair bit of the talent at this point.
All right, tomorrow night on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, we have the Metal Hammer of Doom. We're going to be looking at Glory Hammer. And then, because I'm going to be spending the next 3 days sitting in a chair for 12 hours, getting injected with various toxins to cure to depress my immune system so that I can get the CAR T treatment and hopefully beat cancer a second time. I will have a lot of time to watch TV, so just added to the schedule this Thursday, myself and the toxic masculine Pat Mullen will be reviewing The Good Cop, also from Netflix, starring Tony Danza. Yes.
Tony Danza and... crap, I can't remember his name.
Robard.
God damn. Why am I blanking? Josh Groban. That's
Josh
it.
Groban, yes. Yeah, he talked about
it's not very good.
Well, he talked about it a while back, and he was very excited about it. When Pat actually likes something, it's intriguing. So I figure I've got the time. I'm not doing much else in my world right now. I'm just kind of laying back and letting people cut into me or inject stuff into me. So I figure, why not do another podcast on the 4th of July? What else have I got going on? I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes of that before I kind of realized, boy, this is too generic for me.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
I hope you enjoy it. I mean, look, much as I occasionally wish harm upon you for the crap you put me through, I am the better person here, and I do hope you enjoy the material you consume.
Speaking of which, next week we've got all Spider-Man all the time. We've got Ultimate Spider-Man Legacy Volume 4 by the Brian Michael Bendis. We've got Spider-Man Far From Home, which I actually just saw today with my kids. We've got the Amon.
Can I just... Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but can I just say, bringing back the same director from Homecoming, probably a mistake. Based on everything I've read, just because Spider-Man Homecoming is largely saved by just the performances of Tom Holland and Michael Keaton. Keaton more than Holland in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the director in question is all that great. And if they want to explore other options after this one, probably, especially after how rough I've heard the first half of that movie is.
Like I said, once the movie gets going, the second half is really, really good.
Okay, so Mysterio's just a hack, right?
Go see the movie.
I'm gonna see it anyway. Just tell me.
Go see the movie.
All right.
So we're gonna do the Amon Amarth show that we were.
I'm just gonna look it up now, right?
A week ago, because Robert Cooper will finally be available, and then presumably we'll have an on trial for Spider-Man 3. I initially had scheduled an on trial for the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then remembered, oh wait, we've already done that one. Oops.
It sucks.
So we're gonna do Spider-Man 3 instead.
It also sucks.
The following week, we might be doing a review for Extreme Rules. We've got Doom Patrol Volume 1, Brick by Brick. Robert, Jason, Teasley, and Alexis will be reviewing Crawl. I unfortunately will not be able to see that one and join them, so that's fine. We got the Texas Hippie Coalition on the Metal Hammer of Doom, and then we have a TV party for Doom Patrol on July 18th. We've got Cloak and Dagger, 2018, Volume 1 Shades of Grey, Issues 1 through 6 on source material. Then we've got The Lion King, Sabaton, The Great War. You going to come on for that one?
What date was that again?
July 24th.
Yeah, that's my mom's birthday. I'm not sure. What time do you start?
9-ish.
I'll double check. I'll get back to you in a little bit.
Sounds great. And then we have a TV party for Cloak and Dagger Season 2. It's a weird season. And then we end the month of July...
Much like the entire show, which kind of sucks.
And we end the month of July, or as I like to call it, Dr. Jail, with DC Hanna-Barbera 3, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, If She Could, L7, Scatter the Rats, and an on-trial for the movie Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino. All right.
I don't know which of you is going to try and prosecute that, but you have a tall order ahead of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. All right, go ahead.
Look, in all seriousness, I think probably the best critique you can level at Pulp Fiction is that the profanity is just so pervasive and overwhelming that it's a major deterrent if you're sensitive to that.
Kind of a general Quentin Tarantino knock, but
okay, no. It's much worse than Pulp Fiction. Have you not seen this cut of Pulp Fiction? That is literally just every time they say the F word.
No, but go ahead and do your plot so I can go to bed.
And you can get the entire plot of that movie.
Okay.
Just by watching the times they swear. All right. For myself, this last Sunday, Jeff Harris was back on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. We reviewed UFC on ESPN 3, decent if unspectacular night of fights. And we previewed UFC 239, which we're still waiting on something bad to happen to because it's International Fight Week. Not a joke. The main or co-main event for International Fight Week, the last 4 years, has had an issue. And the main event is John Jones against Thiago Santos, and the co-main event is Amanda Nunes against Holly Holm. And Jones and Amanda have both had issues with fights falling apart at the last minute. In fact...
Can I just go ahead and say Amanda Nunes is going to knock the freckles off of Holly Holm?
That's a very high possibility of happening. And Thiago Santos is going to try some wild crap, fail miserably, and then just gas out and get abused in the fourth round. Like it's.
Oh no, I'm predicting a first round submission by John Jones.
I don't think he'll do it in one. I think it would require too many risks for him to take for that to happen. Especially against a guy like Santos, who's just such a bruiser. Just take your time. There's no reason to take risks. So anyway, you can get our full preview of that. This coming Sunday, we'll have a review of that card and a preview of UFC on ESPN Plus 13, headlined by Jermaine Durandamy and Aspen Ladd. Not a joke. The actual main event for that card.
The UFC does not care about you, South Carolina.
No, this is Sacramento.
Even better.
South Carolina got the Korean Zombie and Hanato Moicano, which is a relevant fight, actually.
Okay, well, then the UFC cares more about South Carolina than it does Sacramento.
Hey, Uriah Faber's coming out of retirement for the co-main event.
Yay, more Robert Winfree and his crazy hate for Uriah Faber.
Hey, he's probably going to lose.
I'm so close to the CPAP machine. Let's go.
Is it right there? Can you hear the Jigglypuff calling?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, look,
Jigglypuff's
primary gimmick is that she uses Sing, which puts her opponents to sleep.
For the love of God, it was a joke.
It was a bad joke. You knew what I was going to do.
You're so concrete. Finish.
You know what? I accept that. It's probably true. All right. So there's that again. We'll be back next week for Spider-Man Far From Home, where I will crap on everything, most likely. I don't know, feeling in one of those moods. Plus, I got back from the chiropractor today, so I am got a new neck, as the saying goes.
I have a hole in my neck.
You do. And I am not envious.
Nope.
But it makes your life easier for the next little bit. It's so much easier than them having to hit IVs or some kind of IV vein all the time. You're much better off with the central line. Anyway, ask me why I know that at some point in the future, folks, because I don't remember where I picked up that bit of knowledge, but I definitely have it. I think that's everything for me. I don't think I have too much else to plug here until next week. That is when I'll have other stuff to plug, and we'll, figure out how I'm going to wish harm on Mark at some point in the future after he makes me watch more crappy movies and television.
Can I tell you how excited my kids are for Hobbs and Shaw? They bounce in their seat whenever that commercial plays.
I so profoundly regret mentioning to you that meets all of our qualifications after you had kind of said no. Okay, also, I can't remember this, and I'm going to kick myself. We are not doing Charlie's Angels, right?
It's on the schedule.
Take it off.
No.
This is not a joke. Take it off.
We'll discuss this at another time. I have to get up and get chemo, so I'm saying goodnight.
All right. Look, just you don't want another cancer relapse. Don't see Charlie's Angels.
Will you shut up, you dick?
That movie is going to be so bad. I will say this: the fact that the visual effects team can make Kristen Stewart's face look like it's moving. I don't know what their budget was for the CGI, but boy, did they blow through that in a hurry.
So, folks, this has been our coverage of Jessica Jones Season 3 and a lot of other stuff you didn't tune in to hear about.
Because Season 3 is not that good, guys. It's a whimper, not a bang.
I wanted to end this 30 minutes ago. And with that said, be well, be safe, and behave.
Dunkin' has a whole new line of handcrafted signature lattes. Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, and Cocoa Mocha. They're so delicious, you'll realize that you've been spending a whole latte time drinking the wrong coffee. So even though you've been together for years, it's time to say goodbye to your ex, Coffee Place. Because you've got a latte love for Dunkin's signature lattes. Sipping is believing with Dunkin's new handcrafted signature lattes, like Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, or Cocoa Mocha. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
With Dunkin' Go-Tos, you can get a great deal on two of your favorites, like 2 egg and cheese wraps for $2, 2 bagels with cream cheese spread for $4, and 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants for $5. In my opinion, it's a deal that's pretty tough to beat. That's just if you want my go-to cents. If you don't want my go-to cents, it's go too late. Dunkin' Go-Tos. A great deal for $2, $4, or $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.